Half the day shift was in our resume room getting ready for the day, and it was kind of funny, we were talking about the Badgers playing Butler in the Sweet 16. It had gotten to that point in the season. So the call comes out, shots fired, officer down. So we run back to the shift commander's office, had asked, where are they at, where are they at? And they said 26 South Lincoln Avenue. So we raced out into the garage. Most of us are assigned to a certain squad car. My squad car happened to be in the garage, so I jumped in the car and we took off out of the garage, headed toward the scene. Myself, Officer Lanning, and Officer Willis, those two had been in a squad car together. As we get on Division Street towards Brook, of course, northbound train. So I call out to all the guys working northbound train on Division. So most everyone goes north on Brook or takes Johnson and the overpass to get to Lincoln Avenue. I in turn head south on Brook. Get to Forest Ave, I see that the Forest Ave railroad crossing is now clear. So I call out intercept or Forest Ave is clear or something like that. Get on Forest Avenue, roll up on the scene, what we consider or call dark. No lights, no siren, no nothing. Pull around onto Lincoln Avenue and I happen to see a squad car parked just north of Forest on Lincoln, but it's parked under a street light. I'm like, just based on the nature of the call, I'm not going to park under the street light for obvious tactical reasons. So I actually park closer to the house, but in the dark. In the meantime, I'd already reached across and got the flashlight and was getting ready to hit the button. We have kind of a magic button that we hit to unlock the rifles and stuff. And as I'm doing that, and I'm turned to my right, the first shot rings out. Now I actually don't hear the boom or the bang of the shot. What I hear or feel is the concussion of the window breaking, glass in my face, and the car actually rocking a little bit. So I just happened to be turned to my right to get the AR, and that's when the first bullet had come through the driver's side door. So I was able to kind of mechanically grab the barrel of the gun, grab it, kick the door open, and the door stayed open luckily. And that was used as cover as I ran around to the rear passenger side tire of the vehicle. As I'm doing that, shots are still ringing out. He's still shooting at the squad car. He throws 3 or 4 more bullets or shots into the rear driver's side door and into the back compartment of the vehicle. I rack around in our rifle, call out sniper 3 times. Shots are still ringing out. At one point, he shot at me a couple times through the driver's side door. I know he had gone 4 more times in the rear driver's side door. He'd shot up now to the officers at the north because they were starting to gather to the north of Division and Lincoln. I was the only officer south of the scene at the time. So a couple shots ring out to the north. It's my understanding that's when Officer Burkholz was shot. He then came back to me for a 3rd time, and on this 3rd time he was shooting through the engine block, the windshield, and other, I think, tactical spots that he probably thought I'd be concealed at. So after he'd come back at me for the 3rd time, I kind of realized then that he had some sort of formal training, whether it be military or anything along those lines, because he knew tactically where to shoot. Driver's compartment, rear trunk area, where he last saw me, and then the engine compartment and through the windshield. So I knew I had to get out in that position. Well, I knew, based on where the shots were coming from, if I ran to the east and tried to take a position behind a house, he'd probably see me and shoot me in the back. So I actually had to run west and towards the house to take away his advantage over me. So as I looked up, I happened to see a very large tree in front of what's 42 South Lincoln Avenue, and I kind of figured, okay, that's where I'm going. So shots are still ringing out, but I'm not hearing the distinct ping, ping, ping of the shots hitting the squad car, going inside and ricocheting around. So as he was shooting, I'm assuming to the officers at the north, I get up, run across the street, take a position behind the tree. I honestly think he never saw me. And I think, based on how many shots he had taken, I think he assumed that he had shot and killed me, because his focus was then obviously to everyone to the north. Everyone had been yelling at the time, to Officer Burkholz, because he had already been shot. He was down on the ground. But tactically, we knew that we couldn't get him at that time. So it was probably 7:40 in the morning now. We've been shooting for about an hour and 10 minutes. For the first time, for whatever reason, he made the decision to stick the barrel of the gun out of the window. Shot 2 or 3 times to the north, then took the gun back into the window. So then I knew I had a bead on the guy. I didn't know who it was, didn't know why he was shooting, none of the particulars, just that we had an officer involved shooting. 4 or 5 minutes goes by, same thing, he brings the barrel of the gun out, he proceeds to fire. As he does that, as he begins to do that, I in turn return fire twice to the suspect, and then I'm being told ultimately it hit him in the hand. And then that was, I think he realized finally after an hour and 10 minutes that finally somebody knew where he was at. Up until then, for him it was just free reign, shooting at whoever and whatever he wanted, because no one really had a true bead on the person. We had an idea of the house, and eventually what side of the house he was shooting from, and probably from what bedroom, but up until then no one actually saw the suspect. I knew one of our officers was shot when I was still behind the car, because I could hear the scream. I didn't know who it was. It wasn't until I got up from behind the squad and got behind the tree that I could hear the officers to the north call out his name, and then I was able to I guess, determine it was Officer Burkholz. Well, after I was relieved by the SWAT team, I went back to the command post, which was, I believe, a division just east of Hickory Street. Lieutenant Dubnik was our shift commander at the time. I told him that I fired my weapon, not sure if I hit the suspect. I said, but based on protocol and policy, he took custody of the weapon. I then tried to call my wife, let her know that there was a shooting, that I was okay. And then sometime after that, all of us that were the first responders were then brought back to the station, because I think DCI was already contacted and we had to start our interviews. It's a very sad day. It really is. I mean, this is one of these tragedies that you don't ever want to experience or have any other of your brother or sister officers ever have to go through, but unfortunately